Hello, miladies of inestimable value. True power is when you stop chasing it, and it starts chasing you. Let that sink in. While the world is out here hustling for likes, retweets, relevance, and validation from strangers they secretly don't even like, the Sigma female is doing the exact opposite. No filters, no forced charm, no frantic need to be seen. And somehow, she's still the one everyone's watching. Here's the wild part. Research in social psychology shows that individuals who resist groupthink and maintain strong autonomy tend to be viewed as more influential and trustworthy. In other words, the Sigma female doesn't lose influence by standing alone. She multiplies it, quietly, effortlessly, almost unfairly. It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's just that while others are out there throwing elbows for the spotlight, the Sigma female is in her own lane, and the spotlight's doing double shifts trying to follow her. So why doesn't she chase influence like everyone else? Because when you're built like a storm, you don't chase the wind, you become the weather. And today, we're breaking down exactly why Sigma females don't chase influence, and why it keeps landing in their lap anyway, like a confused puppy. Buckle up. It's about to get disturbingly real. Number 1, they hold eye contact like it's a power exchange. There's something unsettling about the way a Sigma female holds eye contact. It's not just confidence, it's control. She doesn't glance at you and look away like most people do. She holds your gaze like she's dissecting your soul without saying a word. And you can feel it. It's that strange mix of being seen too deeply and not seen at all. Because while you're trying to read her, you're slowly realizing she's already read you. Most people use eye contact to connect or be polite. Sigma females use it like a power move, not intentionally to dominate, but because that's just how they're wired. They don't blink their way through conversations, they study, they listen with their eyes. And that kind of presence throws people off, especially in a world full of distractions, where everyone's busy looking at screens or past each other. When a Sigma female locks eyes with you, your nervous system picks up on it before your brain does. You start wondering if you said something wrong, or if she's onto something you're trying to hide. That intensity, that's where the influence begins. She doesn't need to speak over anyone, perform, or make noise. One look and people remember her. One look and people change how they speak around her, not out of fear, but out of sudden awareness. She makes people self-conscious in the most effortless way, not because she's trying to, but because she's completely at ease in her own skin. That's the part that hits. When someone is unshaken, when their eyes don't flinch, you start questioning what they know that you don't. And that subtle imbalance of power, that's influence. Real influence doesn't always come with words. Sometimes it comes in the form of a stare that lingers longer than it should and leaves you feeling exposed. What makes it even more captivating is that she's not trying to impress you. She's not even trying to make you like her. But now you're thinking about her. You're curious. You're slightly intimidated. And now you want her approval, and you don't even know why. That's the trick. Sigma females don't chase influence. They just know how to make you feel like you gave it to them willingly. And most of the time, you did. Number 2, they're not interested in being liked. Sigma females don't lose sleep over being liked, and that's exactly why they're unforgettable. They don't walk into a room trying to charm everyone. In fact, they're often the most silent, least reactive person there. But they have this uncanny ability to leave a mark without even trying. While others are busy watering down their personalities to be digestible and liked by the majority, the Sigma female is doing the opposite. She's sharpening her edges. She's not for everyone, and she doesn't want to be. She'd rather be misunderstood than diluted. What makes her dangerous is that she skips the surface-level nonsense entirely. She doesn't try to impress you with fluff or performance. She cuts straight to your emotional core, sometimes without even saying much. And that impact, however subtle, sticks with people. You might not even realize it in the moment. But hours, days, even weeks later, you'll catch yourself thinking about her, about what she said, about how she made you feel like someone finally saw through the act you didn't even know you were putting on. That's her lane. She doesn't play the popularity game because she knows popularity is cheap and temporary. Anyone can be liked if they pretend hard enough. But to be felt, to leave a psychological imprint that lingers, that takes presence. That takes authenticity that can't be faked, and that's what she operates on. People might not always get her right away, but they can't deny the fact that something about her shifted the energy in the room. She doesn't even need to try to be influential because her energy isn't loud. It's potent. Her honesty, her detachment, her emotional depth, it all adds up to an experience, not just a conversation. And people are drawn to that like moths to flame. Not because she gives them what they want, but because she gives them something they didn't know they needed. Truth without sugar, presence without desperation, and impact without effort. In a world obsessed with visibility, the Sigma female plays a different game. She doesn't aim to be liked. She aims to be unforgettable, and ironically, that's exactly why people can't stop thinking about her long after she's gone. Number 3. They challenge without confronting. Sigma females don't waste energy arguing. They evolve out of the nonsense. While most people are still rehearsing comebacks in their heads, she's already mentally packed her bags and left the room. She doesn't raise her voice or fight for space. She just stops engaging. And that silence? It cuts deeper than any insult could. Because when a Sigma female checks out, it's not for attention. It's because she's already decided the conversation, the situation, or even the relationship is beneath her growth level now. People don't realize what's happening at first. They expect resistance, a response, something to push against. But what they get is nothing. Just space where her presence used to be. And that hits hard. Because when someone doesn't care enough to argue, when they don't even flinch, it forces the other person to sit alone with their own noise. That's how Sigma females challenge people. Not by proving a point, but by removing their energy entirely. You don't get a show. You don't get closure. You get left with the echo of what she didn't say. It's power in its quietest, most brutal form. She doesn't chase understanding. She doesn't need you to agree. She doesn't need the last word. She is the last word. Her growth is the mic drop. And because she doesn't broadcast her exit, people don't realize how much they depended on her presence until it's gone. This is why her influence hits differently. She doesn't force anyone to change. She simply becomes someone they can't reach anymore. And that triggers self-reflection in the most uncomfortable way. The kind of challenge she offers isn't loud or aggressive. It's subtle, psychological, and often delayed, but it lands with precision. The best part? She doesn't even need you to notice. She's already on to the next version of herself while others are still trying to get her attention back. That's how she challenges. Not by engaging in petty drama, but by evolving so unapologetically that staying behind with her would have been a favor. And that realization, that's the real sting. Number 4. They don't seek attention, they punish it. Sigma females don't just avoid attention. They make it uncomfortable for anyone who tries to force it on them. While most people are out here thirst-trapping for validation, she treats attention like it's an inconvenience. Compliments don't inflate her ego. Praise doesn't sway her. Applause doesn't make her stay longer than she intended to. In fact, the more people try to spotlight her, the more she steps back into the shadows, not out of insecurity, but out of sheer disinterest in playing the game. She knows something most people don't. The more available you make yourself, the less valuable you appear. So instead of performing for eyes and approval, she stays scarce. Not to manipulate, but because she genuinely doesn't need that external feedback to know her worth. That resistance? That's what drives people crazy. When someone clearly doesn't need your attention, you start craving their presence even more. It becomes this psychological tug-of-war, where everyone's chasing the one person who refuses to play fetch. When people do give her attention, especially the kind that's shallow or performative, she meets it with cold indifference, no excitement, no giggle, no exaggerated gratitude. Just that unbothered look that says, "Was that supposed to impress me?" And that reaction? It flips the power dynamic instantly. Suddenly the attention giver feels exposed, even embarrassed because they expected her to soak it up, and instead she treated it like background noise. That's the punishment, not through words or arrogance, but through that calm rejection of the currency everyone else is dying to earn. She makes people feel foolish for trying too hard, without even insulting them. And once they experience that, they either pull back or get obsessed. Because her indifference forces people to seek a reaction she refuses to give. That's when her presence becomes addictive. She becomes the exception in a world full of attention seekers. And like anything rare, her energy feels exclusive, untouchable, and high value. The irony? The more she distances herself from the spotlight, the more it follows her around. Not because she wants it, but because the crowd can't figure out how someone can be so magnetic without even trying. Number 5. They move like black holes, silent but magnetic. Sigma females move through life like black holes, quiet, intense, and impossible to ignore. They don't wave for attention, don't dress up their personalities for applause, and definitely don't announce their every move. Yet somehow, when they enter a space, the atmosphere shifts. People pause. Conversations dip. Heads turn, not because of noise, but because of an energy that commands awareness without demanding it. It's not charisma in the traditional sense. It's not loud, bubbly, or charming for hire. It's gravitational. You feel it before you notice it. There's something about her presence that pulls people in without trying. It's the stillness, the way she doesn't compete, the fact that she doesn't need to explain herself, justify her opinions, or decorate her existence with artificial flair. She's deep and people sense it, even if they don't fully understand what they're sensing. The weird part, most people can't even articulate what draws them to her. They just know they're drawn. And that's the mark of true influence. Not when people follow because you asked, but when they gravitate toward you without knowing why. It's like emotional gravity. The more grounded she is in herself, the more people orbit her. She rarely posts her life on display. She's not broadcasting her glow-up, announcing her next move, or flashing every win. And yet those who observe her feel the urge to watch closely, hoping to catch even a sliver of insight. She becomes someone people study, not because she tries to be a mystery, but because she doesn't spoon-feed her identity to the world. That quiet confidence, it breeds curiosity. Her depth doesn't shout, it whispers. And in a world where everyone is screaming for relevance, her silence speaks louder than any viral moment ever could. She doesn't perform, she doesn't chase. She doesn't even explain. She exists, fully, richly, and unapologetically. And that level of self-possession is magnetic in the rarest way. She's not trying to be the star. She's the force, pulling stars out of orbit. And when she passes through your life, she doesn't leave noise. She leaves weight. You don't just remember her, you feel her long after she's gone. Number 6. They don't network. They selectively orbit. Sigma females don't do the fake smile, cocktail in hand, elevator pitch routine. That whole networking scene feels off to them. Too performative, too transactional. While everyone else is out there collecting business cards like Pokemon, the Sigma female is observing quietly, almost invisibly, circling the room with intention, not desperation. She's not there to meet everyone. She's there to feel the room, to notice who actually carries weight. Intellectually, energetically, or strategically. Her moves are slow but deliberate. She doesn't throw herself at influential people. She gets close enough to be felt, not forced. She knows power doesn't respond well to flattery. It responds to presence. So instead of oversharing or overperforming, she lets her aura do the talking. She drops a sharp insight in the right ear, makes one comment that sticks, asks the one question nobody else had the guts to ask, and then fades. That's her move, just enough to stir curiosity, just enough to make them wonder, who was that? Unlike the average networker, she's not trying to be liked. She's scanning for resonance. She doesn't need numbers, she needs alignment. She doesn't care who's popular, she cares who's real. That's why her connections, though fewer, are stronger. There's mutual respect, not superficial bonding. And often it's the powerful ones who end up chasing her. Not because she marketed herself well, but because she was the only one in the room who didn't need anything. She orbits influence like a planet does a sun, quietly, efficiently, and only when the gravity makes sense. She doesn't beg to be let into rooms. She builds a presence so strong that the doors open by themselves. And because she's not loud about her value, when people finally get a glimpse of what she brings, it feels rare, exclusive, a discovery. That's how she builds connections, not by broadcasting her worth, but by being so strategic with her proximity that the right people can't help but lean in. So no, she doesn't network. She moves intentionally, silently, like a force of nature brushing past noise and locking eyes with power. Not because she wants anything, but because her presence alone already brings something others don't. Number 7. They break systems by being unbothered by them. Sigma females don't fight the system. They make it irrelevant. While most people either obey or rebel, she chooses something most never consider: complete detachment. She doesn't throw a tantrum about unfair structures. She just stops playing the game entirely. And that quiet refusal, it's what really breaks the system. Because systems feed off energy. They need your obedience or your outrage to stay alive. When you give them nothing, they start to crack. She doesn't bend to corporate culture, social hierarchy, or performative femininity. She'll walk into a room full of rules and carry herself like none of them apply to her, and somehow they don't. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. She knows that most systems are just invisible prisons held together by collective agreement, so she simply doesn't agree. Not loudly, not dramatically. She just acts like she's free, and because she believes it, people around her start to question the bars they've accepted as real, and that shakes things up. It confuses authority. It rattles cliques. It makes overly structured environments feel exposed. She's not a rule breaker, she's a reality breaker. The very fact that she doesn't care to fight you makes it clear she's already won. That's why the system doesn't know how to handle her. You can't punish someone who's emotionally detached from approval. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't want your rewards. You can't trap someone who doesn't care if they belong. This is what makes her dangerous. She doesn't storm the gates, she walks right past them, and suddenly everyone inside is left wondering why they stayed. She doesn't yell about injustice, she lives like it never applied to her. That's what shifts paradigms. That's what sparks admiration in the very people who used to enforce the rules. And underneath all of that cool, unbothered energy is a mind that simply refuses to be boxed. Not out of rebellion, but because she knows her value doesn't require permission. The world sees systems as sacred, she sees them as optional. That mindset, it's not just rare, it's revolutionary. Number 8. They don't just own their silence, they make others uncomfortable with it. Sigma females don't fill silences with small talk or nervous laughter. They sit in it like it's their throne. While most people rush to fill awkward gaps in conversation, she lets the silence stretch, calm, focused, completely unfazed. And that stillness? It unnerves people. Because in a world that equates loudness with confidence, her quiet feels like power. And it is. She doesn't withhold words to play games. She simply doesn't need noise to prove she's present. Every word she speaks has weight, because she doesn't waste them. When she finally says something, people snap to attention. It's not just what she says, it's the fact that she chose to say it. That alone gives her voice more gravity than someone who's been talking non-stop for an hour. Her silence creates tension, and in that tension, people start to question themselves. Did they say too much? Did they misread her? Is she judging them, or just deeply uninterested? That's how she flips the dynamic without even trying. She doesn't demand space, she becomes the still center of it. People lean in because they want access, they want a reaction, but she doesn't give that away easily. And the longer she holds that silence, the more control she gains. It's not about being mysterious, it's about being selective. She knows when to speak and when to let others reveal themselves through their own discomfort. Her silence becomes a mirror. People end up exposing their own insecurities, their need to impress, their hunger for approval, all while she watches, unbothered, probably already bored. And the best part? When she does speak, it's with surgical precision. One sentence, one sharp truth, one observation that cuts through the fluff, and suddenly the whole room shifts. Not because she raised her voice, but because she didn't need to. Her quiet isn't passive. It's loaded, intentional, lethal when needed. That kind of presence can't be faked. It's built from self-assurance, discipline, and the kind of mental clarity most people never reach. She's not just owning the silence, she's weaponizing it. And once people realize they've been trying to win the attention of someone who hasn't even said a word yet, that's when they know she already won. Number 9. They don't sell their image, they guard it like a vault. In today's world, everyone's racing to post the perfect selfie, overshare their authentic moments, and sell themselves like a brand on a never-ending commercial break. But a Sigma female? She treats her image like it's a treasure locked behind steel doors and armed guards. She doesn't toss pieces of herself around for applause or validation. Instead, she holds back, carefully curating what she lets slip out, not because she's hiding, but because she understands the power of scarcity. By not handing herself over to the masses, she forces people to fill in the blanks. And humans love to fill in blanks. They start projecting stories, fantasies, and assumptions onto her, creating a myth far larger and more compelling than any carefully crafted Instagram highlight reel. That projection becomes a magnet, pulling attention her way without her lifting a finger. People aren't drawn to the real her alone. They're drawn to the idea of her, the mystery she cultivates by simply refusing to lay everything bare. What's beautiful and brutal is that she never asked for this influence. It's a side effect of restraint. She's not performing or selling, she's just refusing to dilute herself to fit in or appease. This vault-like approach to her image means she controls the narrative by refusing to narrate it. Others do that for her, filling her silence with stories that serve their desires or fears. That's influence in its purest form, organic, uncontrollable, and deeply magnetic. And here's the kicker. While everyone else is scrambling to be seen, she's watching from behind her guarded doors, letting her carefully guarded image grow in value. The less she reveals, the more people invest. The more they guess, the more they chase. She's not in the business of selling an image. She's in the business of owning a presence that's impossible to package or pin down. That's not just power, that's influence on her terms. And in a world drowning in noise, it's the silence that screams the loudest. Number 10. They make influence look accidental, and people can't stand not understanding it. There's something almost maddening about the way Sigma females influence without appearing to try. Unlike those who stage every move, craft every word, and chase clout like it's a trophy, she flows through life with effortless unpredictability. Nothing she does screams, "Look at me," yet people can't help but look anyway. It's as if she stumbled into her influence by accident, but that accident is her secret weapon. This unpredictability creates a puzzle that no one can quite solve. She isn't rehearsed or formulaic. She's fluid, shifting, and always just one step outside the expected. That makes her presence feel like an unsolvable equation, a riddle people can't help but try to crack. And here's the catch. Human brains are wired to seek closure, to understand patterns, to make sense of what they experience. When they encounter her, that wiring kicks into overdrive. But she keeps switching up the rules. She's not performing. She's living. But living on her own terms means her actions don't fit neatly into anyone else's narrative. That drives people nuts. They want to pin her down, label her, predict her next move, but they can't. It's exhausting trying to chase someone who doesn't follow the usual playbook. This is where her influence becomes addictive. People keep circling back, hoping to catch a glimpse of what makes her tick, to decode the mystery, to finally get it. And while others burn out trying to manufacture influence, she slips through unnoticed, letting her natural magnetism ripple quietly but powerfully. Her influence feels accidental because it's authentic, unforced, and honestly untouchable. She's not a performance, she's a force. That leaves everyone else tangled in confusion and fascination. They don't just want to understand her, they need to. But the harder they try, the more she changes the equation. That tension between craving understanding and never quite getting it is where her power thrives. She's the unsolved problem everyone wants to solve, but only she controls the solution. Number 11. They create emotional suspense. There's a rare kind of electricity in not knowing what a Sigma female will do next. With most people, interactions follow predictable scripts. You say this, they say that, and the emotional beats line up like clockwork. But a Sigma female, she flips the script entirely. Every encounter with her carries an undercurrent of uncertainty, a kind of emotional suspense that keeps you wired and wondering. One moment, she might brush past you like you're invisible, her silence louder than words. The next, She drops a nugget of wisdom or insight that makes you stop and rethink everything you thought you knew. Or maybe she outsmarts you in a way so subtle and swift that you don't even realize it happened until hours later, when the thought hits you like a slow punch. You're never quite sure which version of her you'll get, the aloof, the enlightening, or the razor sharp. This unpredictability isn't accidental. It's an art form. She understands that emotional suspense is a magnetic force. It creates tension, curiosity, and a strange kind of craving in others. You want to know where you stand with her, but the harder you try to pin it down, the more elusive she becomes. That back and forth keeps people coming back for more, addicted to the roller coaster of possibility she embodies. It's not manipulation or gamesmanship. It's mastery. She's mastered the delicate balance between presence and distance, engagement and detachment. That space she creates isn't uncomfortable in a bad way. It's intoxicating. It pulls people in, makes them lean closer, and ignites a hunger to understand her deeper layers. She doesn't hand out emotions on a silver platter. She keeps them wrapped in mystery, making every interaction feel like a chapter in a suspense novel you can't put down. And honestly, that kind of emotional suspense, it's rare, it's powerful, and it's downright addictive. Number 12. They command loyalty without asking for it. Sigma females don't beg for loyalty or beg for attention. They simply command it. When they open their circle, it's not a casual invite. It's like handing you a key to a secret society that most people don't even know exists. That feeling of being chosen is electric. It instantly sets her apart from anyone else who's ever tried to earn your allegiance by nagging or pleading. There's no need for grand gestures or shiny promises. Her loyalty is earned by the rarity and weight of her trust. This exclusivity creates a devotion that's less about obligation and more about honor. People don't just want to stick around. They want to belong to her world because it feels special, rare, and untouchable. It's that you don't get it vibe that makes her inner circle so magnetic. Being part of it feels like you're part of something bigger, something meaningful, something almost sacred. That kind of loyalty isn't casual or transactional. It's cult-like, fierce, and unwavering. And here's the kicker. Cults don't need marketing. They don't need to shout from the rooftops or plaster billboards. The loyalty is so intense it spreads organically. People talk, they brag, they protect. They become advocates not because they were paid or pressured, but because they genuinely believe in her, in what she represents, and in the rarity of having earned her trust. She's not interested in playing popularity games. She doesn't need a crowd. She needs a tribe, few, fiercely loyal, and forever dedicated. That's why her influence runs deep, not wide. When loyalty is commanded this way, it's not fleeting or shallow. It's a bond forged in respect, mystery, and a shared understanding that not everyone gets to step inside. So, while most scramble for followers, she quietly builds a fortress of loyalty, so strong it needs no defense. And the world? It watches, baffled, as that silent army grows without a single like or retweet in sight. At the core of why Sigma females don't chase influence is a profound truth. Influence isn't something you grab or force. It's something you embody without trying. Their power isn't loud, flashy, or desperate for attention. It's quiet, deliberate, and utterly unshakable. While the world races to be seen, heard, and liked, Sigma females move at their own pace, guided by an internal compass that refuses to bend to fleeting trends or hollow validation. They don't seek approval. They command presence. They don't play the game, they rewrite the rules. This isn't just about being different for the sake of it. It's about a rare kind of self-possession so deep that influence becomes an inevitable byproduct. When you don't chase influence, you're free from the exhaustion of performance, from the anxiety of popularity contests, and from the traps of superficial connections. Instead, you live with intention, choose your circles with care, and cultivate a presence that's magnetic because it's genuine, mysterious, and profoundly rare. Sigma females prove that true influence is not manufactured or manipulated. It's earned through quiet strength, unwavering authenticity, and a refusal to be anyone but themselves. Their influence feels accidental because it's natural, effortless, and deeply rooted in who they are, not who they pretend to be. They don't need to broadcast their worth. It radiates quietly, but powerfully, like a force that pulls people in without a word. This kind of influence challenges the norms of our hyper-connected, performance-driven culture. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful presence is the one that doesn't shout for attention, but holds it with silent authority. Sigma females teach us that influence is not about the size of your audience or the volume of your voice. It's about the depth of your impact, the loyalty you inspire, and the way you make others feel in your presence. In the end, the Sigma female's relationship with influence is a masterclass in restraint, authenticity, and power. She doesn't chase because she knows that influence is like gravity. It naturally draws what belongs to her, no matter how far she stands from the crowd. And that is the ultimate lesson. When you stop chasing, you start commanding. When you stop performing, you start leading. When you stop trying, you simply become. That is the extraordinary secret of Sigma females, and why their influence will always come to them, effortlessly and endlessly. If you found this deep dive into the world of Sigma females as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the tribe. Like what you heard? Smash that like button. It tells me you want more no-nonsense, brutally honest content just like this. Got your own thoughts or experiences about Sigma females? Drop a comment below. I love hearing what you think, and it sparks some epic conversations. And hey, if you know someone who needs to hear this or would totally vibe with it, share this video with them. Let's grow this community of truth seekers and real ones together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.